guys, so I'm here with my July reading wrap up. I read 9 books in July. I'm very happy with that. I think that's the best I've done for a couple of months. I just got on some sort of reading roll. I don't quite know what happened there. But the first book that I read in July was Heir of Fire by Sarah J Maas. This is book 3 in the Throne of Glass series. The last book that I read in June was Crown of Midnight. Loved it. It was an emotional roller coaster. I couldn't believe how into it I was, and I was so into it that I needed the next book straight away. Luckily, I was accepted to read Heir of Fire through NetGalley. It's not out, I think, for another month, but it was so good. It was a little slower, I would say, than the first two, but then we're in another setting. We're introduced to different characters quite early on, so I think that slowed down the beginning, because Crown of Midnight was just thrilling. It was just non-stop. So this was kind of a jolt to go from that to this, but it was still fantastic. It was still Sarah J Maas. It was still Selena Sardothian. I am Team Cole. That's how I say his name. I don't know if everyone else says his name that way. I say Cole. It was brilliant. I don't want to say too much, obviously, because it's not out yet, but really, really enjoyed it. 5 out of 5. One of my favourite series. Can't wait for book 4. Okay, the next book that I read was Harder by Robin York. This is book 2. First book is called Deeper, which I read earlier on this year. I was asked to take part in the blog tour for this one. Was really excited for it. Can't even lie, I was disappointed. This was just... The characters in this really frustrated me. At the end of book 1, they go their separate ways. They say they can't be together, but I don't see why they can't be together. It's one of those situations where they're like, they pine for each other, they think they can't have each other, but I actually can't see what the hold up is. I genuinely can't. West, the guy in this, does some really horrible things to Caroline. He says some horrible things to Caroline. I really went off him, couldn't stand him. He has his reasons, but I didn't agree with them. Caroline just let him do it, so I lost respect for her as a character. Just really didn't enjoy this one as much as the first one, so I gave it 2.5 out of 5. Was disappointed with that one, if you couldn't tell. The next book that I read was Unmasking the Duke's Mistress by Margaret McPhee. She's my favourite Regency romance author. After reading The Disappointment That Was Harder, I craved something that I knew I would like, and that was this. Dominic and Arabella were teenage sweethearts, and then a lie basically separates them, and they both believe the other basically is horrible and is this terrible, terrible person, but this lie is keeping them apart. They then meet years later. Arabella is now keeping a secret from Dominic, and I enjoyed it. It's one of those where if the characters actually just sat down and had a conversation, they'd realise that they actually had no reason to sort of feel the way they do. But I still really enjoyed it and gave it 4 out of 5. The next book that I read was also on my Kindle, and that was Invincible by Diana Palmer. This one was okay for me. I didn't really see the main, sort of the love interest. I didn't think it worked. It was pretty much the same as every other Diana Palmer book. So I gave it 3 out of 5. It was enjoyable. It only took me a day to read, so it was okay. And the next book that I read was The Hallowed Ones by Laura Bickle. This was so good. I'd heard nothing but good things about it. I craved a little bit of a darker read. Picked this up, didn't regret it. Oh my god. Amish community and vampires, guys. It sounds like it shouldn't work, but it so does. It was brilliant. It was actually a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. There are some sort of descriptions in here that are so dark, so gruesome. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so intense. Really made me stop and think. Really made me scared to look out my windows when it was dark. I thought there would be vampires like stroking my window. Not even gonna lie, it did freak me out a little bit. Really, really enjoyed this. Can't wait to pick up book 2, which is already out, but I want the paperback to match my paperback of the Hallowed one, so I'll have to wait until September. But it was so good. Highly recommend that. Okay, the next 3 books that I read were Vampire Academy, Frostbite, and Shadow Kiss by Rochelle Mead. I kind of just went crazy for this series this month, and that was because the film came out on DVD here in the UK. I think it came out on like the 14th. I want to say the 14th. I could be wrong. But the film didn't get a cinema release here in the UK, straight to DVD. And I was like, I want to see it. So I bought it and I actually loved it. A lot of people didn't enjoy the movie, but I hadn't read the books. I had tried reading Vampire Academy just after I sort of finished Twilight, and I was in that sort of phase of wanting to read everything vampire, and I couldn't get into it. I couldn't see what the hype was about. So many people were loving the series. I didn't get it. I didn't enjoy it. I think I read the first 10 pages of Vampire Academy, just couldn't get into it. Watched the movie, really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, a little bit cheesy, but I enjoyed it, and it made me want to read the book. So after I finished the Hallowed ones, I picked up Vampire Academy, loved that so much. I needed to read Frostbite straight away. After I finished Frostbite, I needed to read Shadow Kiss straight away. I gave each book 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed the way Shadow Kiss ends. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was spoiled for like a main event that happens in the series, but I didn't know what book it occurred in. So I was like, oh my god, and I was sort of like hyperventilating. So I was like, no, I need to, because I read them back to back, I thought I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then read the next book. Really enjoying the series. Like, I'm so into it now, like so into it, I can't even tell you. So the last book that I read in July was Rush Too Far by Abby Glines. After Shadow Kiss, I craved light, fluffy, contemporary, new adult, romance, chick lit. I just craved it. And the Too Far trilogy by Abby Glines is one of my favourite new adult series. Again, it's super cheesy, but sometimes I just like that. And this is basically Fallen Too Far, which is the first book, and it's in Rush's point of view. We had his point of view for book 2 and 3 in the series, but we didn't get it for book 1. So it was nice to revisit it and see his point of view again, and I gave it 5 out of 5. Okay, so that's everything that I read in July. As well as seeing the Vampire Academy movie, I saw The Fault in Our Stars. Way! I didn't do a separate video on it because so many people have. And I didn't know if it was something you guys would really, want to see. But I have done a blog review for The Fault in Our Stars, so I'll leave that down below. It will be in the description box. So if you are interested in my deep thoughts on The Fault in Our Stars, go check it out. But really, I loved it. I went to see it 3 times in consecutive weeks. The first time with my best friend, the second time with my mum, and the third time with my grandma. Because she was really desperate to see it, and my nan does not do films. She never watches films, even at home, let alone at the cinema. But I really loved it. Like, I thought it was an excellent book to movie adaptation. I thought it was very faithful. It was so beautiful to see what you had read on screen. So nicely done. I mean, there were a few bits, taken out, but they weren't. The core was there, and it was so faithfully done. I just loved it. A lot of people in the cinema were crying. I didn't. I went misty-eyed, but I think that's more because of my sort of how I am in public, how I am socially. I wouldn't have really cried, but the emotion was there, the feels were there. And the last movie that I watched in July was Divergent. I finally seen it. I was going to do a blog review, but I haven't got around to it yet. But I loved that as well. I thought that was a fantastic book to movie adaptation. I loved it. And I'm actually going to watch it again tonight, because I loved it that much. So, okay, I think that's everything for July. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you've read any of these books, or if any of these books appeal to you, let me know in the comments below. I love talking to you guys in the comments, as you guys probably know. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and happy reading.